Okay, it says we're live, but I usually wait about 10 seconds because it takes that much time for LinkedIn to connect. Then that way I can get it live both on YouTube and on LinkedIn. If we just wait a few more seconds. And there we go. Okay. Good morning, everybody. Afternoon and evening as well. It's afternoon here in Eastern time. It's evening in Denmark, where Soren is from, and it's morning for AJ, Mike, and Chris Stalzer from Juggernaut. So I'm Zev Nather. I'm your host at All Things TAC. I'd like to mention first this morning's news for those of you who do use UAS tools and DroneSense together, that DroneSense just announced that they were acquired by Versaterm just this morning, and you can go to either of their websites for more information. As always, we ask the viewers to please post questions and comments, and we will bring them up on screen when we are able to. Just want to do a quick video check here. Everything looks good. Okay, let me introduce some of our panelists who I have their bios for, and then we're going to talk about some of our cameo guest appearances. So first up is Chris Stalzer from Juggernaut. Since 2000, Chris has been involved in many soldier-borne systems dating back to Land Warrior 1.1. After OFW, GSS, and Net Warrior Config 1, they were brought on by DARPA and PM SWAR in 2010 to develop ruggedized cases to protect COTS devices and provide connectivity to tactical radios. This is when the Juggernaut case was conceived. As the subject matter expert for these soldier-borne devices, Chris deployed with many units to field the latest equipment and gain invaluable feedback from these end users to improve their products. With over 200,000 cases deployed with coalition units worldwide, Juggernaut has forged ahead as the industry leader, providing equipment for the employment and deployment of ATAC and similar applications. They protect, mount, and connect COTS devices for the most demanding users, which include military, law enforcement agency, and first responders. Welcome, Chris. Thank you for coming.
You bet. Thank you for having me.
All right. Next up, we have Soren Petersen from Invisio. He is a product solution architect and manager of the product solution team. His background is engineering and acoustics and digital signal processing. He has more than 15 years experience in the tactical comms industry with a focus on hearing protection and communication solutions. Recent work includes bridging TAC and headset or audio domains for seamless integration between plugins or solutions that utilize audio notifications, alerts, voice over IP, and tactical push-to-talk or PTT. Working closely with industry partners to develop and introduce solutions for the coexistence of advanced tactical PTTs and digital situational awareness tools like TAC, they deliver solution architecture, they scope new innovation systems, and aim at minimizing the need for operators to look at their end user device for a basic task. And actually, I met Soren when I attended Juggernaut's amazing soiree back in April. I still lived in Scottsdale at the time. And Chris, if you don't remember me, I'm the one who was wearing the suit, the old guy. And actually met Soren, and he gave me a great demo.
You got well dressed that day.
I did. You know, I wasn't. I didn't get notice on what to wear. But anyway, yeah. So Soren showed me the push talk system, the ability to do it all digitally and to hear the audio and all. It was awesome. So definitely should check them out. Next up, we have Amos Halava from Samsung. Amos has dedicated his career to advancing technology and public safety, serving as a law enforcement officer with the Carter County, Tennessee Sheriff's Office since 2003, and as a firefighter with the Hampton Volunteer Fire Department since 2000. I did not know that, Amos. That's cool. Since 2019, Amos has been a leading advocate for the adoption of TAC across Upper East Tennessee. Under his leadership, the region has deployed a comprehensive TAC server supporting law enforcement, fire, and emergency response agencies. By integrating data feeds from aircraft, 9/11 centers, officer locations, video surveillance, and drones, he has provided unparalleled situational awareness tools to first responders. This robust system has empowered agencies to operate collaboratively, improving response times and safety across complex incidents, which of course is what our community is all about, TAC. In his current role as business development manager for the public sector at Samsung Electronics America, Amos continues to bridge cutting-edge technology with public safety operations. He draws on 2 decades of field experience and champions solutions that equip officers and firefighters with advanced capabilities in the field. His work with PAC has positioned Upper East Tennessee as a model for regional interoperability, demonstrating how modern tools can transform public safety operations and enhance mission-critical decision-making. Welcome, Amos. How are you today?
Hey, good, sir. Thank you. That introduction actually makes me sound like I know something. Yeah, that's new for me.
You definitely do. You definitely do. I think Soren is back. There we go. Sorry, Soren, you were off the stage there for a little while. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, I hope you heard the introduction. Did you hear it while you were off stage?
Part of it.
Okay, good.
Thank you very much.
You might want to consider killing your video, unfortunately, because you are coming in and out based on the fact that you're not in your usual location. But when you're ready for me to put up those screens, you could definitely tell me. But let's see how it goes. We also have AJ and Mike from the Corona Fire Department, and they're here as a special guest cameo appearance to kind of play a little bit with Juggernaut and the rest of the folks on screen. And then Tim Reed from Adeptus Cyber Solutions is joining us as well, because one of the topics we are going to discuss is directly associated with him. Tim is a plugin developer, ATAC plugin developer that I am using on for a client of mine on an amazing system. And we'll talk about that as we go later into the show. I just want to remind all the viewers that, as usual, you can post any questions or comments. We will bring them up on the screen when we are able to. So I guess I'd like to start with Soren from Invisio. If you can tell us a little bit about what closer integration of end user devices, with ATAC obviously, and headsets and push to talk for operators, why is that important and actually critical?
So thanks for having me here, Seth. I've tried to stick only to tech-related topics here, also to feed a lot of good ideas into you guys and the audience. If you could bring up that example one I sent you.
Yes, of course. Let me get it up right now. There we go. And you want to see the first. Mm-hmm.
Those of you not being aware of Invisio today, Invisio is a manufacturer and provider of tactical hearing protection and advanced control units. So we have a broad range of different headsets and also a broad range of different push-to-talk, what we call control units. We can integrate to more or less every analog radio in the world today. And what you see on the screen here today is what I'm going to focus on during my 5 minutes here. And it's our latest control unit, who is called ADP. This control unit is called the ADP because it can still do the A, and the A is the audio. The audio in this sense is an analog radio. That would be your Motorola, your tactical radios. The D is data, which means in our case here we have actually built it in a USB hub. So this to talk is not only capable of handling analog devices, you now actually have downstream ports connecting to USB devices. The P in the ADP is for power. Power means that we have implemented power delivery, so USB power delivery standard. So now you can actually charge your end user device. You can have a battery connected that will take power and put it to your. In this case, you can see I added a GoTenna. So the GoTenna here is a data-only device, but in this system, the battery on the left corner will actually provide power both to the GoTenna and the end user device. So on top of that, our new control unit also has USB audio capabilities, which means that when you connect a host to the ADP, you will actually enumerate a USB audio device. That means that we can now actually bridge whatever goes on the audio side, digital, on the end user, on the side. with the tactical headset domain, meaning that people or operators being in a noisy environment where they need hearing protection, or just being in an environment where they actually need comms, can now combine everything that is going on the end user device with audio in the headset. So coming back to TAC, that will give us audio notifications. So TAC today has standard and default a limited amount of audio notifications. But what you will see today is that when you get a message or when you get a new data, you will actually receive a audio notification in TAC. This audio notifications will now be available in the headset of the operator, which means that you can now actually determine whether or not you want to look down and actually look at your screen, or if you want to wait. That could be light emission, for example. It's not always that you want to put your end user device in front of everybody because they can see the light. That could be that you can wait until you can cover your end user device and then take a look at it. You could also imagine plugin. So audio notifications can be anything that changes in TAC or a plugin. So everywhere you want the user to be notified about something going on in TAC and you want to have their attention, you can now actually implement that one. Your brain has been trained since you were born to act on your hearing. It has not been trained to look at something and take a decision based on some kind of icon. So you can now actually implement something where you can train and train and train again and again the priority of what is going on in TAC, which needs, which is something that the operators are used to. So training, but based on what your brain receives in your ears. What we can also do here is we can do text to voice. So we are working with a couple of guys who is actually implementing text to voice, which means that now you can actually utilize very low bandwidth carriers to have text sent out from a central part of the architecture and receive at the operator's ear written out, utilizing, like, we can even do it with.
I actually experienced that at the Juggernaut event back in April. It's wicked cool how that works. So, yeah,
and that is something. So what you see on the screen here could utilize TAC on the LTE, so you could have a high bandwidth. But for example, with Go10 or any other SATCOM carrier, you can actually implement something that you don't even have to look down at the end user device to get audio in your ears. So that could be in your PACE plan. It could be that you have LTE to start with, and you could go down, but you will still be able to hear it without even looking down at your end user device. What we also are working with in terms of plugins is to utilize the buttons. So since we are providing a push to talk where the operator usually knows that one button is what they trust because this is their comms, we have spare buttons available where you can actually start implementing something that will be executed at the user device. That could be read out the last message again. It could be activate your camera. It can be anything. So now you can actually interact between the push to talk, the audio, and everything that goes on in TAC. In TAC, for example.
Will that also work with other devices that you're utilizing? So for instance, if you have, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Nope.
I was asking, is it scalable? Like if they have different sensors or laser rangefinders or whatnot, the power draw, how does that all integrate together?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And so what you see on the screen here is a very simple setup that I brought in just for this one. But we do have the ability to scale up this system. And INVISIO is also a provider of, for example, a tactical power and data hub. And since everything is USB-based, you can daisy chain these ones. So in case of you having the need for adding extra devices, it's not a problem. We can scale it up and down. And yeah, really? I don't know how much time I have. I have a lot of stuff to talk about here.
That's good. And I think it's a great primer. And as we continue speaking, these questions are going to come up, and you'll definitely jump in where it makes sense. If we have any questions from the viewers, we'll bring them up as well. David, you asked if anybody else is experiencing his sound as being very soft. That might be because he is transmitting from Denmark and it's not coming off as strong. Let's go to another person, and we'll see how that works out for you. So let's move next to Juggernaut, to Chris Stalzer. Chris, great to have you. And obviously, we have AJ and Mike in the wings there. They're going to have a few words. But I wanted you to, if you could, give us a little bit of information about the new Velox ecosystem, what it brings to the battle space for ATAK users, when we're going to see it come out. And yeah, it's exciting. So tell us.
Yeah. I'm going to send you a window of our new system.
Okay.
So for the last about 2.5 years, we've been working on a system called Velox. Being out in the field with many of my end users, I was able to see the challenges associated with connectivity, data transfer, charging the devices, all sorts of different challenges that we were always faced with, like hotel rooms full of spaghettis of cables and 10-port USB port, hubs, and workbenches filled with EUDs without cases when they were getting broken. So this concept came to mind, and the weakest link of the EUD is the USB-C port. These are pretty rugged devices when you think about it, right? For day-to-day use, they're immersion rated, they're somewhat drop rated, but that USB-C port always is the crux in a lot of different situations. So, my mind started turning. I'm like, every one of my tactical radios has these gold dots on the side of them, and we use these side hat adapters, which have the corresponding spring-loaded pins. It's repeatable, it's sealable, it's EMI rated. So this thought came to mind of, let's take our QD interface, which is the 2 thumb screws at the bottom of the case, and develop a system where we bring that USB signal out from the connector, the commercial connector, to a gold dot array. And 15 pins was the sweet spot, so we could support USB 3.2. And then we started developing this system called Velox. In that, we started developing a whole ecosystem. Starting with the operator case, as you can see in this photo, we've got a special mount that goes with this operator case, and that has the corresponding PD detect circuit in it, as well as the pins that connect into the gold dot array. I've got another view for you here that kind of explains how this works.
You're just going to add it to the screen that has this one, right? Or do I need to remove it? Okay.
So I guess I stop screen and then add a new one, right?
Yeah, you could have done that, or you could have just added it, like shown it on that same screen that you showed that picture. So if you have future pictures, just keep throwing it up in that window. But I'll bring you back on. All right, there it is. Ooh, nice.
All right. So this is the S23 operator. This is what we're under contract with US SOCOM to provide. The operator case was developed from the sleeve. I know a lot of people are familiar with the sleeve, which uses our 2 thumb screw interface. In this, we have the smart block, which is screwed into the bottom here with 2 fasteners, and it has a environmental and shock and vibe seal to that USB-C connector now. New way of docking it. So the bottom where it says Velox here is where the shielded pin array is. And what that does is enables you to quick disconnect and connect without having to unscrew a cable or disconnect a cable from your system. And this provides an IP68 solution, connected and unconnected also. So, we're 1.5 meters rated for 30 minutes, which is pretty awesome. That includes the mount. So, if you have to take your phone out, do some SSE, take some photos, look at a mission plan with your mates, Even when it's unconnected, it's still IP68. Wipe clean, reconnect. Now you're tied back into your system. This is scalable also. We have different connectors. We have an Odoo connector, which connects directly into the 163 radio, 167 radio, and various hubs. And then we have the Glenair or Net Warrior connector version, which is the 6-pin circular connector. So, and that varies in length also for different users. So you can plug this into a hub. You can directly connect it into a tactical radio. So it's a very scalable system.
And Chris, I know what IP ratings are just because I've been in that for a while. Some of our viewers may not. Can you explain what the first number represents and what the second number represents? And I do believe you're at the highest rating for both. Am I right?
That's correct. Yeah, there's even higher ratings, but you have to qualify and actually notify. If you can make it for like 1.5 meters for an hour, you call that out. So. But IP means ingress protection. The first number has to do with solids, so dust, salt, the talcum we experience downrange and in sandbox, all that, fine grit that can really mess up your electronics. 6 is the highest rating there. And that's, they do wind-driven, fully covered in dirt, wipe clean kind of thing. The second number is your liquids, your fluids, and that has to do with like an IP65 rating is wind-driven rain. IP66 goes up and it starts the immersion. IP68 is immersion for longer periods of time. So seeing what these end users are using these for, they might be using them on ATVs or MFF operations, marine operations where we're experiencing salt, fog, spray, or full-on immersion. If we're doing an over-the-beach operation where end users are SDVing, swimming, all those types of different mission scenarios, we're going to survive all those types of situations.
Great. And
so that's a quick overview of the IP rating.
Thank you. And I think that AJ and Mike throw their EUDs in their bunker pockets and are looking forward to having a great or better way to charge them up. So AJ and Mike, if you want to jump in real quick and give us a little bit of information about what you got going on, I will remove that picture. And there we go.
Yeah, we can talk about our relationship with Chris over there at Juggernaut back in 2019 when we kind of got our kickoff. DHS S&T were very gracious and said, hey, we want to see success. Let us get you guys all kitted out. So they bought us all Juggernaut stuff. We got going on our S10s, which we used for, we got 5 years out of these things. But we started with the Juggernaut inductive charger. And we were putting these in fire engines. And so Corona is, we are in an interior valley. So we're 15 miles from the coast, but it does get warm here. And what we figured out was we started blowing up our phones. The batteries started swelling because the inductive charging, as you guys ever put an inductive charger on, does create heat. So we went back to, of course, Samsung. We went back to Chris and was like, hey, what can we do here? And Chris is like, hey, man, I got something in the pipeline that I think you're going to like. And that was the Impact series. So this was a charger that removed the induction and then just had a USB-C male here and allowed us to dock the phone into our fire engines. And this was a great solution. But then it was time for the S10s were getting long in the tooth. And we were like, we're getting new phones. And we've moved through the Xcover Pro 6. And we went back to Chris again and said, all right, what's the plan for the next? It says, hey, I got this thing called VLOX in the pipeline with SOCOM, and it's coming. So we moved to our Xcover Pros. We bought their newest case. And Chris can show off where we're at now. That we don't have a vehicle charging yet, but Chris has got it made, you can kind of show off the 3D rendering, 3D printed rendering of what that's at. So what we like about this too is, we take these phones in the water. So we're really excited about being able to seal that thing up, putting it in wildland fire environments, with tons of dust, and really, sealing off that USB-C. Like Chris said, it's the most vulnerable spot on the device. We won't have to worry about that anymore. And then the other thing too is firefighters aren't great with plugging the phone back in. So that's why when we started with this was great. Hey, you're going to mount it on the fire engine. And then we moved to this was great. Guys need something they can just dock it and it's charged. And that's what Chris has figured out with Velox and building for us now.
Yeah, so this is the Xcover 6 Pro operator. So you can see we've taken the operator architecture, incorporated all the covers for the 3.5 millimeter plug, the programmable button, and also the new smart block. So you can see those gold contacts there. And then what we're doing is developing specifically for Corona's, kind of situation where they need charging, possibly DACs in a vehicle. So what we're doing is we developed a vehicle mount that's RAM compatible. So that's the size B ball mount compatible. And you can see those spring-loaded pins in the bottom there. This is, again, the PD circuit, PD detect. And what they'll be able to do is mount these in their vehicles and their apparatuses or their side-by-sides and just dock that in that quick. And that's the seal that we talked about. Does have an environmental seal that's replaceable. So if you jack that up, you can pull that out and pop a new one in there. So that is user replaceable. And then this terminates in a really long cord so that you can plug that in USB-C into your, Havas screen or a vehicle in-vehicle USB-C charger. And then that leads to the kind of the pinnacle of the whole thing, which I'll share this last screen with you, Zev, and everyone else. It is the Velox
It hasn't come up.
data charge dock.
Let me
Just
see.
screwed up there, Zev.
Yep, got it.
Right on. So this is the 6-bay data charge Velox dock. And what this enables you to do is drop your, take this out of your apparatus, take this off your armor mount. When you RTB after a mission or your shift, you can come back and basically drop these right in. Each one of these bays supports 25 watts fast charge. The only thing coming out of the back of this is literally a AC cord that you can plug into a power strip and an Ethernet connection. If you want to do any data transfer on and off the device, there's several MDMs available for doing that. And we can daisy chain up to 5 of these docks to one network connection or a computer to allow a whole element to come back from a mission. Everyone drops it off at the information officer. They drop them in, pull data off, push data onto the device, and also fast charge at the same time. So a very powerful tool for your information officers also.
Brilliant, brilliant, beautiful. All right, let me remove that. And I think at this point, I'd like to go over to Amos and thank him again for coming on and ask you to tell us a little bit about what Samsung America has in store for TAC, for the TAC community in the near term and in the longer term. And you're muted. I'm not hearing you. You might want to go back to the other one, the phone, and I'll bring you on through the phone if you'd like. While we're waiting for that to get squared away, David asked if there's talk about integrating this into public safety. I think he was referring to Velox, and absolutely, right? Right, Chris? That's going to be on both sides? Yep. That's
Yeah,
what-
this will be a available product, right? You contact our in customer service department, get quotes. It's going into production, So yeah, this is
Yeah.
available for military, government, agency, and first responders.
Yeah, we're deployed now. We're just don't have the vehicle charger yet. So yeah, we've already bought all the stuff in anticipation for when this comes out. We're a little ahead of the curve. So right now we are plugging ours in, which is fine. But guys forget, but we're super excited. And I think this is a good testament to the relationship that Juggernaut has with its users. Like Chris actually drives up here and breaks bread with us at the fire station, and we talk about like our needs, and hops in the fire engine and figures it all out. So it's really cool.
Nice.
Very cool. Amos, you want to try singing Yankee Doodle for us to hear if we hear you?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
All right. Sorry about that. I was clicking the wrong button on here. I apologize about that.
Right.
It's not every day, though, that you get to be on a world stage with a bunch of TAC rock stars here. So I feel, we got the mayor of TACville and AJ Johansson there, and Stilzer, all these guys that are doing all this great stuff. So I'm honored to be here, just to be honest with you. And I don't know if I can do a better job than AJ did of presenting Samsung devices out there to people. But I did 21 years in law enforcement before I took this job at Samsung. And the real thing that interests me is, as AJ pointed out, as we were bringing TAC on and we were using things, it became obvious that we needed a solid device to work with. We tried cheap devices here and there, and you would run into all kinds of stuff. And when you look at the tech and the innovation that Samsung puts into the hardware that they're putting out there and the innovations in the software, it's obvious that they listen to the customer, bring that back, and then try to implement that. And then working with partners like Juggernaut to take that to the next level, whatever rating that needs to be brought to, so that they can get a solid working solution that helps them accomplish that mission. And so for me, it was easy to take this job because I'd been using Samsung so far back. I have a little museum at my house of all these cool old devices that I had. I just never got rid of because I'm a hoarder. But, to AJ's point, when you need a good device, you want something that's going to be solid and work. And a lot of people don't understand the tech behind it. The vapor chambers that are put in the S-series devices that helps them cool. And that's the reason that the Samsung phone can perform and operate at those higher temperatures to do the tasks that require the extra processing, is because they could cool the chips in ways that other manufacturers are not doing it because they just don't see the need to support that mission. And
I got to ask you a quick question right there.
Yeah.
It's something that's been on my mind. I'm often out in the field here in Pennsylvania. I got large property with lots of bugs and spiders, I might add. I'd give anything to be with the scorpions and tarantulas back in Arizona. But when I'm out there and sometimes my iPhone gets hot, it decides to shut down until it can cool off. Do you have plans for, or currently have the ability to override a heat warning for like another 30 seconds if a critical operation needs to be performed?
Yeah, unfortunately, physics is the thing that controls that, right? If something gets hot enough, if you get it too hot, the magic smoke that makes it work comes out and it quits working. So, that's the reason those things are, it's all to hold that magic smoke in so it doesn't leave. And
I was hoping there was like a 90% point and then you could take it to 94.
When you're
really shuts down.
And that's a good segue into what the rugged devices that Samsung develops. Like AJ mentioned, the Xcover 6 and the new Xcover 7 Pros, right? They can operate at a higher temperature and a lower temperature and still maintain functionality. And that's extremely hard in a small platform. In a laptop, you can put fans on it, right? Or in a tablet, you can just add extra surface area that can dissipate that heat. In a small handheld phone factor, that's where you get the X covers are designed to dissipate that heat in different ways so that it can still function at those different temperatures. And that's very important for users to learn what devices are out there and what is their mission and what they're going to need. Because if you need that extreme heat, if you're one of those people that's going to be in a hot environment, don't go buy an S25 Ultra, right? Go get that Xcover 7 Pro. Or
I'll add that.
Yeah,
I'll double down there with, when Chris was at the station and we were like, hey, we're getting rid of, we're moving on from our S10s. And Chris says, hey, you know what? Like, I've been out in the remnants, and Chris pushed us towards the X cover. He said, you know what? This phone tends to not this one will take the most heat before it gets to that level of warning.
Yeah.
And that really, Chris is like real world experience out there working with the soft folks really was like, this is the phone you should get. And that's what we got.
Yep.
Yeah, especially when you're out at 29 Palms and it's $122.
Absolutely.
Still worked.
Yeah. And to that point, though, the Xcover 7 has a different screen that you can use with your fire glove on versus, it's hot or it's cold. I'm having to take my glove off and use the screen, or I'm sweating and it's dripping on the screen, or it's raining out and I'm getting all these weird touch points on it. They're designed for that austere environment that you don't typically get. So it really does depend on what your mission is to pick the correct device. Nothing is ever one size fits all. You have to kind of adapt and be like, for this event, I'm going to need this. And that's one of the roles that I'll take working with customers and partners is if I go to somebody and they're like, hey, look, this is kind of what we do and what we work on. I'm like, look, this is the device I would recommend. And oh, by the way, call Chris over at Juggernaut and get this case, because if you're going to want to do in and out of vehicles and stuff like that, that's a great solution, right? And so putting those together, the partners and the customer together, so that they find the right capability so they can complete that mission without, to your point, in the middle of it, I got to shut down. Because if I leave mine on the dash of my truck, it's 5 minutes and it's shutting stuff down because it's just not designed for that heat. And that's where you need to have the right device for the right mission.
So Amos, to that point, how do you and both Chris work together with folks like Soren that need to keep up with your case redesign, need to keep up with your phone redesign? Is PTT always going to be PTT? Is it always going to be those two plugs? Like, does he have to anticipate? Do you guys, collaborate on those types of improvements?
Yeah, we have a whole team at Samsung that when a new device is coming out, that we provide CAD files and spec documents to people like Chris so that he can build his case, or if somebody's going to build a new plug. So we put NDAs in place so everybody's protected, their side and ours, and then you can work before that device is released to make sure that stuff is in the right spot, that you don't have a manufacturing defect. Because, Chris doesn't want to make something that they want, he goes to ship it, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, this was a last minute change. No, we want to make sure that that's done beforehand. So there's whole teams inside Samsung that will work with, and not just with the physical characteristics of the phone. We have software engineers that can help write code. Or if you got somebody who wants to write a plug-in and they're like, I'm not really sure how to get it to function this way, they will jump on a call. We'll put NDAs in place so they're protected, and then be like, oh, you know what? This is the API you need to call, or this is the library you need to use to get that functionality. And it could be something simple as, how do I get my app to start up when the phone reboots and is after first unlock? Or how do I get it to auto launch and do some of this other stuff? There's experts in Android that can say, this is what you need to do to get that functionality. They're not going to write the program for you, but they can absolutely give you the direction that you would need. So that's something that you can always reach out. If you're writing a TAC plug-in and you can't get some functionality, reach out to me. I'll get you in touch with the right people, and we can get you that information.
Oh, you're in big trouble now. I'll be calling you a lot. Hey, Soren, have you ever had a challenge when a prime vendor like Juggernaut or Samsung has made a change?
We are working closely with Juggernaut to make sure that all our control units that can handle data and power also integrate with Juggernaut. So we have a whole team that just makes all the cabling and the connectors and everything working along with the guys from Juggernaut.
Yeah, we really stress the importance of collaboration with all of the companies that we work with. And by being like the Switzerland of the EUD market, we can, help Invisio out, we help everybody else. Like, hey, I have a special new product, in this case, ADP, and they came to us, they gave us the ICDs, what Odoo connector it was that we had to mate with, all the different specs. And then my engineering team worked closely with their engineering team and built that solution.
This is a wonderful conversation because I'm learning a lot about what goes on behind the scene, and I think a lot of our viewers are as well. John Lee has a question that I'd like to bring up real quick. Whoever would like to answer that.
Let me get an answer. I'll get right back to see.
Is John referring to the Starlink? Is that what we're talking about?
John, you can comment in if you'd like.
I think that's what it is, and if that's his question, from my understanding, what Starlink did is they updated to be able to talk on band 24. I think I've got the right band there, and that's just about any 4G device. So all of your latest devices from just about any manufacturer within the last couple of years at least is going to work on that without any issue. Including, we have partners that are doing testing now with the Samsung Watch, which can work in a standalone or freestanding mode and connect with. Oh, he said yes. Okay, so yeah, you should have no problems there, John.
Brilliant. So are you working with Ascent and Rain on those watches?
Yeah,
Wonderful.
and so that's a great. We our software teams have helped them back and forth, making sure that they get the stuff that they need. That's another collaboration that goes on in the background to get. So, yeah, AJ's holding one of them up there. You can run WearTech on that, and they're doing some testing to see if that's going to work off the Starlink network. If you're in a cellular denied area, which will be a game changer for all of us. Any of those networks that are going up, it's just going to help all the way across our PACE plan. So,
okay, great. Well, the next question that I have, I actually wrote it out because I don't want to make any mistakes on what I say here. So, while to date I haven't spoken much about what I do, what my company UAS Strategic offers, I'm going to tee up the next question, which is actually directed at both Chris and Amos, by sharing a particular project that I'm running right now. And Tim Reed, who is, I keep saying Cameo, but which it is on the side there to help make sure that I get this right and offer any information he can about it. But this particular client, they're called J3I Initiatives, or J3 Initiatives, J3I. They integrate novel unmanned aircraft system payloads that are agnostic. So if you need to drop something or deliver something in a contested area or whatnot, whether for law enforcement, whether it's popping smoke or flashbangs, or whether it's in an AO, they are there to help bring that. So one of their systems in particular equips groups 1 through 3 UAS with both lethal and non-lethal effects. They're used for obscuration, signals, precision strikes, ISR, in a single drone with a bunch of munitions or sensors. So to accomplish that, we've been working on a new TAC native payload control plugin that gives the operator a single pane of glass to work with, that is an intuitive interface for the safe carry and release of these payloads, again, being lethal or non-lethal. It gives them the ability to engage in the payload functions with zero proprietary ground station required. So imagine if you have a glide munition and a grenade and a mortar all hanging underneath this, and you need to know what state they're all in. Has a pin been pulled? Has it been initiated? Has a button been pressed? Everything that happens before the operator might say arm and launch, or might say disarm and drop because they're coming back and they need to be unloaded. This plugin preserves all established TAC workflows and cybersecurity baselines and so on. I already disclosed to you what munitions they are. Now, I personally have seen some of the wireframes about what this is going to look like, and Tim has done a great job in putting that together and using the available real estate that's on the screens that they're using at this point. But what I see is in the future, there's going to need to be more screen real estate for those gloved operations, for having more options, for having more communications on that one pane of glass. So I asked both Samsung and Juggernaut, will we soon see larger screens that I think the warfighter and the first responder is going to want to adopt, even if it adds 3, 7, 9 ounces to their kit, because it's going to be necessary with the growth of TAC and the types of plugins. So based on that, what might that new Samsung unit look like for them? And Chris, what would the case look like? Would that be a VLOX or yeah? So why don't you start, Amos?
Yeah, to your point, we see a lot of the drone manufacturers using the the more tablet-based size devices instead of a handheld phone size device for those screens, just for what you're talking about. So currently, Samsung does work with a lot of the different drone manufacturers to integrate those tablets into their controllers. And we can let some of them talk about who is doing that, who wants to talk about what they do, but that is out there. And having the larger screen size is absolutely a game changer, and I think you'll see more of that coming for the more greater view, being the glasses or the VR sets and some of that other stuff to give you a darker area to work into. I think in the future that a lot of it's gonna tend to go that way. That maybe you're flying this thing with a pair of the Samsung VR stuff, and then Chris will probably build some really cool kit to go around that thing to make it ruggedized at some point. So that's probably where it's headed to. But definitely the larger screens, being able to see that stuff better, and the expert on that is probably Mike, who's on this call. He probably give a little better where that may go in his perspective. I'd like to really hear that part of it too, maybe when Chris gets done talking about his stuff.
Yeah, I think you're right on with it. I think real estate, as valuable as it is, the future is definitely going to be, I'm going to say not even VR, it's going to be an AR. I think at this point we've surpassed what VR can do, and eventually, it's going to be in the user's eyesight, in view at all times. That's where it's going.
Speaking with Robert Cameron over at the Texas DPS yesterday, we were just chatting, and he told me, I think it's called X-Real. Is that the name of the glasses that folks use?
Yep, he loves those. Yep, he loves those things.
He said he can put a 200-inch screen right in front of his face, and if little baby bunny buttons on the application were like 1 millimeter by 1 millimeter, they'd grow to like 1 foot by 2 foot buttons that he could see, and it would scale. So that's kind of an answer. I just don't know if it's efficient or effective. But Chris, what do you see coming, and how are you getting ready for it?
Yeah, so several years ago, Samsung came to us and said, hey, we've got this new tablet. It's a ruggedized enterprise tablet. It's called the Tab Active 2. Since then, we've gone through the 3, and now we're on the Tab Active 5. And one of the really cool things about the Tab Active 5 is it's available with the Tactical Edition ROM on it. So many of our users need to connect to multiple peripherals, multiple IP addresses and stuff. So working closely with Samsung, we developed the operator for the TA5. So this is a brand new 8-inch tablet case that we use for the Tab Active 5. It is the same interface on the bottom. So it comes with a sealed door that you can open up just to charge it with the regular cable, or it is also VLOX compatible. So one of the cool things about this too is we do offer a armor mount for that. A lot of guys put it down in front of their mag pouches so that they have a larger mission picture or UAS feed, and so vehicle mounts. So say for Corona Fire's situation where they might want a larger video feed from their UAS and their side-by-side or the Ranger, they can vehicle mount this in with a Ram size C-ball. And then also we have different types of peripherals that we can use with these. We have a new cable that medics can use with this, with the Lumify ultrasound, a handheld ultrasound. So we're constantly adapting to what our users are looking for. And the 8-inch is very popular with our aviation community also. So we offer a single strap BOA knee board for rotary and non-ejection aircraft. And then we also have a ejection seat rated 2-strap mount EKB, which is electronic knee board solution for that Tab Active series.
What do you see the operator using on their plate carrier? What size diagonally or vertical and height? What do you see that looking like?
Yeah, and I'd say the highest number of armor mounts that we ship are in that medium size, so that 5.5 to 6-inch screen, and then also up to the X-Cover 6 Pro. I think this is a 6.8, Amos?
Yeah,
6.8 screen. So it's that sweet spot between an 8-inch screen and a 5.7-inch screen.
Right.
So if you're a JTAC and you need to, look at your tax stack and a bunch of different information on your screen, that larger screen is better. And then the 8-inch is real popular with our, like I said, aviators, vehicle guys and stuff. But when you're in a fast mover and you need it bigger, icons, more map data, you can switch from portrait or landscape depending on your situation. If you're moving fast, you want to see what's more in front of you, like an aircraft. So those they all have different sweet spots. Mostly in our special operations community, you're shooter first, right? So that smaller screen size allows you to buttstock weld, not get in the way of your PTTs. So everything has its kind of mission sweet spot.
Right. Tim, do you want to talk a little bit to how many buttons, how many options, and how you laid it out at this point? Keeping with the whatever confidential we need to maintain, but I did get permission from our client to mention what I've mentioned thus far.
Right. So I mean, the challenge of the developer when building in this case, a TAC plugin, right, is how do you handle all the different screen sizes? Because you don't know what the end user might be using, right? They may have, AJ's little S10 that they're still using, and they may also be using the big, 8-inch tablet. So it's hard to try to figure out how to have that scale appropriately, and at the same time, like not requiring the user to constantly be scrolling to look at the next thing, because sometimes, based on the screen size, you may not see that there's a button or a field just off screen, that you need to scroll to get to the next feature, right? And then when you're trying to display, like in what Chris was saying about JTAC, like you're trying to display, hey, I'm on line 4 and I'm trying to display this coordinate, but it's an NGRS coordinate and it's massively long. And oh, by the way, I need a button on there to be able to allow the user to select a new position on the map. The displays start to get, very restricted in what you can do, and then to go to adding a video feed and seeing the map at the same time is, there's the map is the key piece, right? That's the piece that everybody wants to see is where are my people? Where's the data I'm trying to look at? And then at the same time, interact with a plugin of some sort to do whatever it is you're trying to do, whether it's calling fires or, do a report of some kind. You want to make sure you have enough real estate on the side there to do what you have to do.
That sounds like a good opportunity for what 3 words instead of having to have a long string. And I know he's nodding his head. He always does whenever I mention it.
It's still a long string.
But yeah, and then of course Soren could probably have that text audio to you through PTT through his connection of those 3 words, and it might be easier. I don't know, but okay, thank you for that, Tim. I appreciate that. Did we lose Soren? It looks like we might have lost him there. Okay.
Can you imagine calling for fire with what 3 words? Not gonna happen.
I don't know. What do you
Movie
think,
lines, maybe.
Chris? You've been downrange. What do you think people would think of what 3 words?
They have to spell. They have to know how to spell.
All right, so no Marines, just the Air Force, JTACs. Okay.
Oh, crapping on the Marines. I don't.
What do you say?
Know what you said.
I think they spent many, many years on what minimum lines, and that came to 9.
Okay, good. All right, so I was going to ask Soren if he wanted to say any last words before we sign off, but it looks like he's on. Are there any other comments from the viewers that they'd like to post? Any questions that they have? Now would be a good time to put those up. Okay, Soren is back. There we go. He's spinning.
Hey, Zev.
Yeah.
I saw one about the folding phones here, so I can talk to that real quick.
Okay, great. Please do. Let me try to find that and bring it up.
Yep. David E. at 1016.
There we go. Thanks.
So the short answer is yes, maybe. We've talked to several companies about implementing the Z Fold or the Samsung Fold. So there's, the smaller version, and then there's a larger version that basically, gives you about this much screen space. It comes down to ruggedizing a folding phone and a folding screen. So there is talk maybe of providing this. Some of the Air Force maintainer communities really want something that they can put on their forearm mount and have it fold up so that they have a larger screen format. So they're looking at PDFs. They can order parts for from the airfield. There's types of different mission scenarios, and UAS is another one, right? They want to see a video on the top screen and then a map on the lower screen. So they want to split those screens somehow. So the long story is, hey, if you can come up with a 1,000 MOQ, we might be entertained in designing and building one for a folding phone. But the numbers are not there yet.
What might that look like? Would that be like a trifold in a case? You'd have to.
No, it would basically be it would be like this, but it'd have to articulate, right? So we'd have to still provide our mounting and cabling solution to the USB-C side, but have some sort of ruggedization and articulation in the folding display side.
Okay.
I think this just goes into the point about, you mentioned the MLQ side. Like, it's not cheap to build this stuff, guys. When I go to Chris with my dreams, he has to ask me, well, what's our ROI? Do you think we'll be able to sell X amount of, like, when I'm like, I want a vehicle mounted VLOX charger. I need this. And we start talking about that stuff, because this stuff, I won't mention what this stuff costs, but there's a significant investment on their side to get this stuff to market, testing, design. So, it's going to come down to how many people are going to really want to use that. I see for the UAS operator, it'd be a sweet spot to be able to flip open a phone to have a larger screen. That would be great, because I've flown with a small device. I've flown with large tablets. And like Chris said, kind of that sweet spot. What is your mission? Be able to have both would be awesome.
Okay. And David, before I let you think, one of our viewers, David, that I'm bashing on Marines, I'll let you know that when I was a younger man and was going through a midlife crisis, I actually took some training from former Scout snipers, part of a state team, to do maritime security. So spent about a year training with them, and I have a lot of love for the Marine Corps. So just kind of playing with them a little bit. We have another question here. What will the TAC ecosystem look like in 5 years from now? Who wants to take a stab at that?
Well, let's just reflect on I'll reflect on the last 7 years we've been using TAC. I've seen a dramatic improvement in probably just publicity for training, ease of getting plugins developed. I mean, the fact that it's on the Play Store now, I think is big. Mm-hmm. So training, exposure, seeing stuff like, Paul, what you guys did with the watch, right? Like having another way to just share PLI over watch and have, the way to do things. The availability of UAS tool now publicly, I think, is huge. So if we were to say that it's going to be quadruple what it was over the last 5 years, what does that look like? I think on, like Mike was saying, on the AR side, seeing having more uses. My EUD is doing the heavy compute, but now I've got things like Arc Recon. If you guys seen that from ARA, or was that Arc 4? The Arc 4 Recon, where you've got a monocle and having that sort of vision. I think the augmented reality and seeing the form factor, the hardware size, the Meta glasses, that sort of thing, I think is going to be huge for having a better understanding what's happened, if it's the battlefield or the disaster field that we're involved with.
I think the operators are going to demand it, because ultimately the one thing that with any of the current TAC EUDs is, I have my device here. In order to get the information from this, I have to break contact with what's important and look down. And once you get to AR, that disconnect no longer happens. You can see both at the same time.
So having Bluetooth from my glasses to my EUD to bring that sort of data, and maybe not every data element, but key elements of data. Where are the blue forces? Where's the red force? Where's important stuff. Could be aircraft. That will be the future. I mean, you've seen the military IVAS system. I don't know if it's that, or it's
It
fully,
looks like Robert Cameron has a pretty good idea. He's at the
but
forefront.
something like
Yeah.
that. I've seen a couple versions of glasses, that work. But when you talk about like our environment, sweat, all those sort of things, especially on I think about wildfire as an example. It's probably our closest translation to the warfighter, and like where you are in extreme heat and you're sweating your ass off. It's got to allow some sort of ventilation and things like that. We don't wear fully encapsulated goggles on wildfires for a reason. You have glasses that allow some airflow through. So it's got to be something like that. I really like ARA's version of like a monocle, but that sort of iteration.
And that was a great question, Paul. And I think we'll close it out by asking each of our panelists to give a 1-minute close regarding that question. So let's move to Amos on what his feeling is.
Yeah, I think what AJ said is the environment is going to dictate what our EUDs of the future are going to be, whether that's a Neuralink or a monocle or whatever it ends up being. I think that's where we'll eventually get to for our data feeds that come into us. But that's going to be what everybody's looking for, right? What's the next thing that we feed into this and getting that information back out? I can tell you some of the other partners that I deal with are using AI and TAC, like Red Queen, giving it to me audibly so I don't have to look down at the device. Things like that, I think, are what we're going to see coming into TAC to make it to where we're using the natural language to talk to it, to get information back, whether it be through a simple headset or just the speaker on the phone. I think that's what we're going to see for the future is integrations into wearables that maybe haven't even been made yet. Whether you're getting tactile feedback through a watch or a ring or whatever else is out there to provide information or safety information, especially to officers, firefighters, EMTs while they're out there in the field to make their job safer and bringing them back. So some of that stuff might be somebody who's watching this today that has an idea and builds it. And I think that's where it goes to for the future.
Brilliant. Soren, give us a minute of where you think the TAC ecosystem will be in the next 5 years.
Heavy computing devices. So not only the end user device and the visual will be doing and lifting all of that. And then hopefully from my side, we will see a lot more of audible situational awareness and that being integrated.
Brilliant. Tim, do you see yourself getting increasingly busy with plugins? Where do you see it going in 5 years?
Yeah, I think there's going to be more plugins as more vendors bring their hardware to TAC. But I mean, I'd also like to see the ecosystem be more secure as everybody's putting it more in the cloud now, and we're sharing. You're sharing data during an event, for whatever it might be, whether it's wildfire, hurricane, earthquake, or whatnot. Yeah, I was chugging on that question. I haven't come up with a good answer for it yet. So,
okay. Chris,
the security side, right? Cybersecurity, right? As it becomes more popular, like being able to have those secure transport layers and then hardening the TAC server wherever it lives as well.
Right, and then securing the EUD. I mean, that's a big thing that I get from a lot of the public safety is like, well, what if I lose a device, or what if, well, now what do you do? Well, do you cancel? You revoke that cert, right? But what if you're using the same user login for everybody? Now everybody's cert has to be revoked, and you have to issue new certs, new data packages, or whatever it is you're doing. But yeah, if there was a way to secure and lock down the EUD without needing an MDM for everything, that would be great. And then onboarding. Things like onboarding volunteers for like search and rescue missions. Like, how do you easily get them onboarded that have TAC, or just, hey, get ITAC or get ATAC, and let's just so we know where you are, right? And then maybe you only train like the lead of that search team and say, hey, this is how you're going to communicate with us. But making that onboarding process a lot easier, so you're not there, on site trying to make like 50 TAC users for the search team that just showed up, but at the same time, okay, I don't want to make one user and hand it out to 100 people, so I think some of that needs to expand and be simplified.
Chris, you're downrange with the military guys, so I think you could probably speak to the warfighters' expectations over the next 5 years. Well, what do you have to say?
Yeah, situational awareness is key. These guys want less gear on them. They want to move faster. They want to be more agile. The EUD is the key piece of this. The integrated mesh network radios, we're seeing a big push away from the big green radios and more of a 5G on the battlefield type thing. Smaller, lighter, faster, less batteries. But the situational awareness, we saw a lot of negative feedback from guys getting sick with big goggles on, nausea, those types of things. When you start talking to special operations guys, they want clear view. They want a whole mission picture. Even hearing protection was like one of the biggest hurdles for these guys because they didn't want to cover their ears or plug their ears. So there's been a big push in that realm. The EUD and the HUDs, those types of things, it's going to be a long fight tethering the helmet. And then signature reduction. When we were marching around in the hills of OEF and OIF and GWAT, it was a less technical adversary. Now we're dealing with a much higher tech adversary, which is sniffing out many of our users just by having a phone on their chest. So signature reduction, like where Provoro and some of these other industry partners come in. You got to think about, you can't Bluetooth stuff because now you're just transmitting a signal and everybody can sniff that out. So the whole wearable thing is an interesting one too, the biometrics and physiological monitoring. But there again, it's like having to just look down at the screen is one of those things. So we're going to see a big push into the whole AI, AR, augmented reality. It's just how we implement it and not take away that situational awareness from the operator.
Fantastic. Thank you. Okay, so that concludes this episode 10. We should have something in mid-August. Please, if you're not already connected with me on LinkedIn, please do so. I'd be happy to accept that. Also, a little shameless plug that near the end of August, I'll be moderating a panel between several experts in security and in use cases on both sides of the DJI band, pro and con. So that will be a fun one. If you connect with me, you'll definitely be able to know when that's happening. Other than that, again, thank you all for coming on. This was a really great show, and I look forward to having you all again. Thank you.
Thanks, Ed.
Thanks.
Thanks,
All right.
Zach.
Take care.
Zeb.